Hi, I'm Katie Vanderstappen with the McHenry County Farm Bureau Ag in the Classroom, and we are here in Spring Grove, Illinois at Richardson Tree Farm, and George Richardson is here to tell us a little bit about their tree farm and what they do here.
All right, well, thank you. So, first of all, we love the Christmas tree business. My brother Robert and I, we both graduated from the University of Illinois. We had jobs off the farm for 3 or 4 years, and then the farm life looked pretty good. We came back to buy in with our parents on the home farm here. So this farm, this land we're standing on right now, is part of the original homestead from 1836. So my brother and I are the 5th generation of Richardsons on this farmland. And then my son Ryan, after college and a real job, bought in with us in 2007. So we have the 5th and 6th generations operating the farm right now. We were planting 1,000 seedlings a year in our first years, and that got up to 2,000 a year, then 3,000 a year. Now we're planting about 12,000 seedlings every year. So we always have a nice crop of trees growing, probably almost 100,000 trees growing on this farm, which is 130 acres just devoted to the Christmas trees. All right, beautiful canane fir here, and I wanted to show you the pine cones that grow on this. Now, the pine cones on the young trees don't have the seeds inside of them. If I just break this apart, it's a very soft, fluffy pine cone and doesn't have good pine cones yet. I'm going to show you a little bit about a pine cone on the trees. Usually when they're about 10 or 12 years old, they'll start producing pine cones with the seeds inside of those. And we'll find some of those in a little bit. All right, so well, we've got a large white pine tree. This was planted, I would think, maybe 20 years ago on our farm. And we love getting the pine cones off of some of these trees that we use on our wreaths and our decorations. When the pine cones grow all summer long, they're closed up very tight, and on these trees, the seeds are growing inside each scale of the pine cone. Now, I found one on the ground where the pine cone is dried out, opened up, and if you tap it on the surface, a lot of times you'll find a seed come out of there, and then, ooh, it's tiny. If I can get, there we go. The seed is that little part. It has this little piece of pine cone material attached to it. There we go, getting the sunshine. And that is the seed for a white pine tree. Now, as these pine cones are up in the tree, when they dry out, they start to open up, and then they kind of shake around on the tree, and then the seeds will sprinkle out onto the ground. And that's how Mother Nature propagates the trees, by having these seeds kind of blow out, and some would find a nice piece of soil and take root. And in the Christmas tree business, there are farms that pick these pine cones off of the taller trees, take them inside, tap them, collect all those seeds, and then plant them on our farm. All right, so we are standing in a block of trees. There's about 1,000 little seedlings here. We let farms over in Michigan and northern Indiana plant the seedlings for us. They're about our same latitude in the United States, so they transplant well over here. Now, when we buy them, they're about this tall, about 14 to 16 inches would be the average height. And I pulled a dead one out of the ground. Not every tree is going to survive after we plant it, but when we get the trees, there's no dirt on the roots, because very early March when we get them, early April, before they have started to grow, so they can be out of the ground as long as we keep the roots moist. But this is what a seedling looks like, except it would be green, of course, when we buy them and plant them on our farm. The roots, of course, are, the lifeblood of the trees. They absorb the moisture out of the soil, they absorb the nutrients out of the soil, and help those trees grow. So we're always very careful with our roots. This, probably the most important part of the tree itself, because without a good roots established, they're not going to grow for us. Now, this first year, we planted these this last spring, and it grew just about zero this year. All of its energy is getting its roots established into the ground, spreading out its roots so it can absorb the moisture and the nutrients from a large portion of the soil. Very, very important. Next year, this looks like a fantastic, healthy tree. I expect next spring maybe get about 5 to 6 inches of growth. Up on the very tip top, if you can see, there's one taller brown bud in the center, and then 4 little brown buds that kind of go off to the side. That one in the center will grow up to be the new leader, be the trunk of the tree. Probably 5, 6 inches next year. The ones off to the side will grow out to be little side branches like this. And that happens every year. New leader grows up, new branches grow to the side. And those little baby trees, I showed you the buds on the top. The one in the center is going to grow to be the new leader. Next spring, it'll about 12 more inches if nobody harvests it for their Christmas tree this year. This past spring, this was the leader that grew. We had about 16 inches of growth this year, and it put on this set of branches off to the side. These are called the laterals, like a lateral move sideways, and it adds these laterals and a new leader every year. The year before that, it added this set of branches, added this leader up to here, up to this set. So every year it's growing a new set of branches like that. We can count all the way back down to the bottom. Year number 1, after it was planted on our farm, grew just about 8 inches that first year, added a set of branches here. Year number 2, grow about 12, 13 inches, added those branches, grew up again about 12, 13 inches. Grew this much, and this much.
This is one tree here. So there's some branches that are fairly close to the ground, and some are, depending on how we plant them, there might be some branches right at ground level. As that tree grows, those branches will not grow up with the tree. They're going to grow out, they'll get bigger, but they're still going to be connected right at the bottom of the down close to the ground. And it doesn't hurt the tree any, and a lot of tree farms will leave those on. But after a few years, I'm going to come along with my pruners, and we're going to clip off these bottom branches so that there's a space between the bottom branch and the ground. This is a little fuzzy things here, but we'll try to take those off. And this is going to let the air circulate underneath the tree a little bit. So we have here's the bottom branches are going to be here, and next year this is going to grow. This will be the leader, and it'll start to grow. So we'll have these branches are going to be off. So the air can circulate underneath that tree a little bit. Helps keep it dried out, less residue building up underneath there. And also when I spray my chemicals, I spray from the side so I can kind of tuck them underneath the tree a little bit better to keep the weeds down. But most importantly, when it comes time for you to cut down that Christmas tree, you can easily get underneath there, saw it off, and still have a trunk left over to put on in your Christmas tree stand. As they get larger and bigger, we have to trim them up because, again, they don't all grow into a natural Christmas tree shape. And some take more trimming than others, but they all need a little bit of trimming. I usually do the trimming basically during most of the summer. Once it gets too late, it has to have a chance to set buds again. But again, on a fir, it won't make too much difference. So I'm going to walk up to the tree and picture the perfectly shaped Christmas tree. And we're going to cut off anything that sticks outside of this imaginary line. So I come up to the tree with my protected leg towards the front, and using basically just the tip of the knife, just make long straight swings all the way around the tree, just cutting off the tips. And when I'm done, I should have nice straight sides all the way around the tree. And then we go on to the next tree and the next tree and the next tree. Every tree has to be trimmed every year.
Hey, we found a nice white pine tree here. So there are hundreds of different types of evergreen trees that could be planted for Christmas trees. On our farm, we have about 8 to 9 different varieties. And each tree is a little bit different look, a little bit different characteristics and how they grow and how they look in your house. White pines are native to Illinois, Wisconsin, this area of our United States, so they grow really, really well, and they're beautiful trees. The Douglas fir has a nice strong branch, but soft, short needles, a very nice fragrance to it when it comes into your home for Christmas trees. This is a Fraser fir. Fraser firs, a little bit more rounded needles, a little bit different look, still beautiful, a little darker color, magnificent trees. These trees are native to North Carolina area, but they grow well up in our area of the country too. So we're a little bit farther north than North Carolina. And here we have a Canaan fir. It's a close cousin of the Fraser firs. A slightly lighter green color, but still beautiful silvery underside to the needles. Nice soft needles, beautiful. And we also grow some blue spruce, some Norway spruce, the white pines that we talked earlier with the long soft needles. Real Christmas trees, wonderful for the environment. All the years that they're growing, they're absorbing carbon dioxide out of the air, they're producing oxygen, which is the part of the air that our human bodies need to live on. So really cool to have green growing stuff in the environment. All of the years that they're growing, it's a wonderful home for wildlife. The birds and the bunnies and the mice and bugs are all through this field. And in the summer, in the springtime, we've got millions and millions of milkweeds growing. Home for the monarch butterflies that grow in between the rows here. It's just a wonderful environment all the years that these trees are growing. The very neatest thing about real Christmas trees is that they are 100% recyclable, renewable, sustainable crop. Just like corn and soybeans that grow for one season and then they're harvested, the trees grow for 6, 7, 8 years. They're harvested and 100% is recycled back into the earth. Right over here I can see where we harvested it. Somebody harvested a tree here. We have a grinder that chews up the stump so that people don't trip on it. And then all this grindings from the stump, this wood, in just a couple of years is going to decay right back into the soil. Every speck of this is recycled back into the soil. And that's the neatest thing about real Christmas trees. Now, if you want to research, Sierra Club, NASA Kids Climate, Nature Conservancy have all endorsed real Christmas trees as the most environmentally friendly alternative for a Christmas tree, because artificial trees are made with PVC plastics and metal rods and wires inside the branches, and they may last for 3, 4, 5 years before they kind of get covered with dust and start to break apart, but they're going to end up in a landfill. Real Christmas trees, 100% of that tree comes out of the earth and is recycled back into the earth. Every town, every village has recycling programs to recycle these back into the earth.